That's right, and I hope you guys are jealous right now, biting into a Joe Louis, one of my favorites. Julie Van Rosendaal joining me, food writer, and one of your favorites too growing up.
I'm a professional eater. Well, this was my favorite, right?
Me too.
Like, everyone loved Twinkies. I was all about the chocolate. Joe Louis was my favorite. Although Hostess fruit pies, I would see them on the back of Archie comics. And I wanted one so badly, and then when they finally came to Canada, it was such a letdown,
Oh,
right?
I actually like them. I still buy them in the States.
They just kind of like coated your mouth. But what's your favorite?
Passion Flake.
Passion Flake.
Those are delicious.
The cherry ones.
So what we thought this morning, we've been planning this actually for some time, and we're finally doing it. We wanted to do top secret recipes, how to make some of these favorite treats at home. So we're going to start with this one because this is a favorite. So where do we begin?
So Joe Louis is essentially like a whoopie pie.
Okay.
It's a really cakey cookie that is kind of like a muffin top or a cupcake top, right? So you start with a 1/4 cup of butter. If you read the ingredients on the box, you'll find a lot that you cannot pronounce.
And you
hydrogenated palm kernel oil.
Yeah, there's a lot of assorted gums.
There are a lot of gums in there, a lot of long words. So, you know, I like that you can control what goes into these. So sugar, butter, an egg, a little bit of vanilla.
Okay.
One of my grandma used to do some behind her ears. And get to rub it in really well. Mix that up, and then I'm going to get you to put 2 scoops of cocoa into the flour. So that's 2 cups of flour.
These
and then
big scoops?
No, into the flour.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, we want them chocolatey.
Okay.
Have you the Joe Louis are not that dark. They're kind of like a red velvet cake, which you could totally do. Red velvet cake. Do you know why red velvet cake is red velvet cake?
No.
Because there's red food coloring in it.
That's the only reason.
Yeah.
It's chocolate?
And less chocolate so that the chocolate won't overwhelm the food coloring, which I would rather have the chocolate.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, so now add half of this.
Making a mess.
We're going to make a total mess, but that's okay. The Mike's going to clean it up afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. I'll stay late.
And then we'll incorporate the dry ingredients, and then I've got a 1/2 cup of buttermilk and a teaspoon of baking soda that I've stirred into a 1/2 cup of hot water.
Now,
so
if people are following along at home, I should say, we are going to post these recipes online.
Yes. And then, so we're going to have a really wet dough.
Okay.
That's nice and soft so that it doesn't squish the filling out. So the filling, let's talk about the filling while I finish the...
Yeah, so we're almost out of time, so let's talk about what's
we've
inside.
We've got marshmallow fluff. I've got some finished cookies there if you want to start sandwiching them.
So these are the finished tops that we've baked, so how much do you put in here?
As much as you want.
Oh, add like half the jar.
So if you want to be really authentic, you could mix your marshmallow fluff with shortening and salt. That's like the combination that makes the filling. But that sounds no.
That's wrong.
That's wrong. And that's just, you know, probably for shelf life. You don't have to worry about shelf life when you make them yourself. And look at that.
Look at that. Give it a good squeeze. And I'm going to take a big monster bite out of this. Put
some chocolate chips inside so you don't have to dip them, which is dipping is difficult. But right? Doesn't that taste just the same?
I'm sorry, Ted. I got to take a moment here. That's delicious. That is so good. You know what? No comparison, I'm sorry. Hands down, the winner.
Woohoo! And probably cheaper too, even though those are pretty cheap.
I'm just going to keep eating, sorry. But back to you guys in the studio. We're going to go savory now, and I'm sure you've tried these before. These are one of my favorites too, Rain Coast Crisps. And the interesting thing, Julie Van Rosendaal joining me this morning, the interesting thing, Julie, is that when you look at the box, unlike the Joe Louis where there's a lot of chemicals and gums and things that you can't pronounce, this actually, the ingredients are simple.
Yeah.
So simple,
real
in fact,
food.
You can make
it yourself.
You can
make them yourself.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned how to do it, because I was so addicted to them. You know, and they're wonderful. I love them. They're a little bit pricey.
Yep.
But you can make them yourself. So you look at the ingredients on the back, and it's buttermilk, flour, mostly fruits and nuts and flavorings. It's like a basic Boston brown bread. So to make them yourself, so simple. You make a loaf, 2 loaves, and then slice them and bake them again.
Oh, okay.
So flour, some baking soda, some salt. I'm going to do rosemary, raisin, pecan, but there are all kinds of different flavors that you can do. You could do fig, you could do olive, you could do sun-dried tomatoes.
Yep.
They're a little bit sweet, so there's brown sugar and honey in here.
Actually, there's brown sugar in there, okay.
Yeah, that makes them brown. Lots of raisins, lots of pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds. You could put flaxseed in there if you like.
Now, of course, we're kind of doing the copycat of this recipe, but like you said, you really probably could throw whatever you wanted in there.
There are tons of different varieties. There's like cranberry and, you know, but I love the rosemary, raisin, pecan is my favorite. So you want lots of stuff. See how much stuff is in there? Just enough batter. Roughage. So when you slice through, you have lots of, like the cross section is you know, you got lots of stuff in there. So a little bit of honey, about a 1/4 cup. And some buttermilk. Oh, and some chopped fresh rosemary is very important.
Could you use powdered if you want?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. Or whatever you have in your garden that you think will taste good. So you stir it together into this. It's essentially a quick bread batter, and we're going to bake it in two 8x4-inch loaf pans. Or you could do 9x5, and you'll have sort of shorter, wider ones.
Right.
But I've baked it in all kinds of pans. Whatever pan you have, you can use. So fill it, halfway full, whatever.
And will it rise?
And it'll rise. And get puffy and brown and look like, ta-da!
Finished product.
Through the magic of TV, it'll look like this.
You're going to slice this really thin though, right?
Super thin. So if you put it in the freezer, it'll be easier to slice really, really thin with a serrated knife.
Okay.
And then just like biscotti, you bake them again for about 10 minutes.
And at what heat? Really high?
About 350.
And just don't burn them, I guess.
Don't burn them.
Okay, so this is the finished product here.
Yep.
Go for a look at that. Nice snap. Really crunchy. And you know what? If I didn't know I was not eating the bought ones, I'd have no idea. This is, wow.
Well, and the great thing is you can keep a loaf in the freezer and just slice and bake, right?
There you go. Keep it in the freezer. Here's one for you in the studio, guys. A lot of people are excited about this. When I mentioned yesterday to a few in our morning meeting, everyone's like, Orange Julius, are you kidding me? The recipe actually is quite simple. Julie Van Rosendaal joining me now. Not much really into it.
No, but there's a few things that really make a difference between an Orange Julius and a smoothie. Like when you go to the mall and you have an Orange Julius, it tastes like an Orange Julius, right?
Yes.
When I was a kid, it was like the big mall treat.
Of course it was,
right?
yeah. It was.
Yeah.
But the secret ingredient, we'll get to it in a moment, is right here. A lot of people see the powder being scooped in and they're like, well, what is that? Is it just sugar and flavor? No, it's not.
No, it's not.
So we'll get to that in a moment. But first, I guess we have a bit of water in here.
Yeah, a little bit of water.
A bit.
Yep, some orange juice.
Yep,
Very
so
important.
about a cup of orange juice.
Quarter of a cup of sugar. They're sweet. And this is just a basic Orange Julius, right? I mean, nowadays you can get like raspberry and crazy banana, like all different combinations.
Pina colada, you name it.
This is just for Orange Julius purists.
So ice.
Yeah.
Ice. It calls for about 3 cups of ice, but it can make it too thick, so we'll start a little bit lower right now because you want to be able to suck it up with a straw. It's not supposed to be a smoothie. It's supposed to be liquidy.
That's right. It's supposed to be, and you need a good blender to get through that ice.
You do. That's key because you don't want the big chunks at the bottom. So if you do not have a really good blender, it's not the same. You also need that air to be whipped into it. So yeah, you do need a good blender. Now, in your hands right there, what is the secret ingredient that makes an Orange Julius an Orange Julius?
This is egg powder.
There you go,
Powdered
egg white powder.
So egg white powder. So where did you buy this? You picked this up on the way.
You can get it at a bunch of places like natural food
health
stores,
food
health food.
You can get meringue powder at Michael's, but apparently it's not quite the same.
We've tried it. It doesn't. It's
and it
not
wasn't
the same.
as good. So powdered egg. Sometimes it's called albumin. This is what gives it that texture and that frothiness.
So there's a tablespoon of that in there. You don't want to put too much because it actually alters the taste.
The flavor.
Good taste. So I'll put the lid on. Hopefully it's on. We're going to blend this up. And you can see it's getting really, really frothy.
Yeah.
Like look at that difference that egg powder makes in it, right?
Huge.
It's almost done.
And then it'll start to separate as you drink it. You leave it for too long.
Let's stop it there. Take the lid off, and you'll see as you pour it. We're talking about that froth, right?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at this.
And the powdered egg white also adds some protein, of course. Right?
Yeah, there you go. So
protein
it's
boost
kind
doesn't
of healthy, I guess.
hurt. Yeah.
So,
quarter cup of sugar and a spoonful of egg white powder, but delicious, and it tastes like.
Taste.
If you want to add a little bit of vanilla too, it gives it a little bit more of a sort of creamsicle flavor.
Once again, bang on. I'm telling you, if we blindfold you guys in the studio and we give this to you, you'd have no idea this was made at home. Recipes are going to be on the website today, by the way, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
You know what? This is a prime morning. Lots of research, which means lots of eating, because we are revealing top secret recipes. Julie Van Rosendaal joining us this morning. It's surprising how simple a lot of these recipes are. It's
true, yeah. I mean, just knowing a couple tricks, and they're not hard to make at home, and so much better for you.
Not as much chemicals, that's for
exactly.
Sure. 2-bite brownies, we've heard of those, but there's also 2-bite cinnamon buns, and that's what you're making right now.
A little bit more interesting. So this is a really basic cinnamon biscuit dough, which I actually make full size if you don't have time for your yeast dough to rise. It's baking powder, tablespoon of baking powder, tablespoon of sugar and 2 cups of flour, and then I put in 3/4 of a cup of milk and a 1/4 cup of oil, just like canola or a nice neutral oil. So it's actually not that bad for you. This looks like a sort of a healthy alternative, but they're actually quite delicious.
Okay, but you said biscuit.
Yes.
Now, why are we saying biscuit, not a bun?
So it's not yeast leavened. It's leavened by the baking powder. So, in a traditional biscuit, you would cut in the butter and grate it or chop it in, sort of like you were doing a pie pastry. But this is just super easy with the milk and the oil, so you don't have to grate it, and no yeast. So, yeah.
I was just gonna say, which means it's not as fluffy, like it's
more dense,
firm. Yeah.
which is what these are. Yeah. And but everyone loves a good biscuit in the morning, so if you don't have time to do wait for your cinnamon buns to rise because it takes hours. I'm going to divide this in half, and then you want to roll it into about a 12 by 6 inch rectangle. Thank you.
Mix
and
them around.
Then all we need is some brown sugar. If you use the dark brown sugar, it sprinkles more evenly than the golden sugar, which tends to clump. So this is about a foot.
We have about 30 seconds left. So
and sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon.
Of course,
the
cinnamon.
And then you roll them up, cut them, and bake them. You don't need to let them rise or anything. Bake them in a mini muffin tin.
So that's it. Oh, that's the
and
finished product.
That's the finished product.
And look at that. I put it side by side next to these guys. That's pretty spot on. And I will say, I have sampled both of them, and they are exact. You would never know the difference.
2 minutes.
There you go.
2-minute, 2-bite cinnamon buns.
Simple as that.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Julie, for giving us all these secret tips this morning.
You're welcome.
I want to quickly talk about tomorrow's breakfast television because I'm going to be on remote at Speeder's Pro Karts. So that's going to be fun. We're going to hit the racetrack. But I'm putting a call out to BT viewers. Who wants to take me on, Leadfoot Yanni, in a race? There's a big prize up for grabs from Samsung worth about $850. We put the call out on Facebook yesterday. We got quite a few responses, but most of them are guys. I want some Leadfoot ladies out there to apply and take me on. We will get a hold of you, but go to our Facebook page and enter there because I want to race you guys at Speeder's Pro Kart tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. Big prize up for grabs. And you know what? I'm going to bring some of these back to you guys in the studio. Look at that.